What is up, my Gaggle of Geeks, and welcome to tonight's episode. We're going to be talking about a bevy of things. Happy Memorial Day weekend. The start of summer has happened. The movies are coming out. Chaz, how are you, my friend?
Dude, I love the excitement. It just kind of like hypes you up.
Well, because it's time. It's time. And speaking of time, I'm glad you actually did this. Cut to you. Can you show the people the drink you have there? That's awesome. So that's actually my drink. Will you cut back and pass me that, please? Oh, careful. Thank you. So let's talk about last episode first. At the top of the hour here, let's talk about last episode because it started off a little rocky. Well, it ended a little rocky. So my dog is licking my kneecap right now. Cut to the wife. You can kind of see him faintly in the corner. Oh, that's the grossest thing. Hi. All right. I don't know how I'm going to concentrate with that. But you had taken your Red Bull and gone downstairs during the 5-minute break when I was changing into the green morph suit. And we were going to do this sketch where we were talking about aliens and like reviewing and pitching movies. We didn't have a clear-cut idea, I'll admit. But what we didn't have was the expectation of cleaning and mopping up my entire staircase because you had fall. Well, did you fall? Because tell your side. What happened next?
Do you mind if I see that real quick?
No.
You can. I gotta show. I
have this set up. So please. Use your phone.
Okay. Well, let's say this. Okay. So we walk out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh hey, we have a 5-minute break. You're doing your thing. I have the drink in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh hey, Natalie. And I went to go raise my hand, and the drink.
Natalie's my wife, my lovely wife.
Right, and the drink totally flipped.
Yes, it did.
And like, dude, my hand was even like,
Well, it was crazy because I heard, whoop, and then a splash, just a huge splash. I was like changing, so I was half naked, getting into this morph suit, putting on this stupid tight thing.
You were,
and like I ran out halfway. I was like, "What happened?" And I see just everywhere. And then Frank, who was seen featured molesting my kneecap here, was just about to go for it. And we were like, how do we clean this door at the same time? And it was super hectic. So we weren't able to really do the sketch to its highest potential. Wouldn't you say?
Yes. Yeah, I would agree.
We were a little distracted.
We were, yeah.
And I think there's a fix to it.
Okay.
And I have that fix right now. So cut to you for a sec. Let me go ahead and grab this.
I don't even know what to think. What are you grabbing?
Okay. Now.
Oh my God.
Here you go. Now, go ahead and...
Seriously?
No. Well, here's the thing. I'm wanting to help you, When it comes to the show, we got to help each other, right?
Yep.
And I love you.
So you went out of your way to grab this bottle.
100% spill proof.
Should we test it?
That's the thing. I like to see. So here, I like to give you... This is what you're going to have in a month.
Okay.
You're going to have this in a month.
Okay.
Okay? But for a month, enjoy the sippy.
Now, let me ask you a question.
I don't think you should be asking anything. I think you should be trying it out.
What's in this?
It's the same thing. Yeah, the one that was already opened down there was the one that I filled up with that, and I had put it in beforehand.
So it's the same amount as that?
Yes. There's just a cut of Frank just licking my kneecap through the entire thing. It's almost serial killer-like that I'm able to cut away. But also, I'm sure if anybody is a dog owner, you have to deal with a lot of stuff happening while you're having to work or do other things. I know my wife has that a lot with Frank.
By Frank, oh, you're gonna go sniff a corner. Okay,
he's hanging out. Well, that was just that. So here, did you already shake it violently?
Oh.
It is not spill proof. First of all, okay. Well, that's how that works. To suck on it.
Okay,
try it.
Ready for this?
Everybody enjoy.
Dude, okay, hold on. I haven't had to suck on something like this. That sounds really weird. I haven't had to use a suck bottle.
Yeah.
Since, sippy cup age.
But you can remember?
I don't know, dude.
Yeah, try it so we can move on. Just try it so we can move on. I just want to see if it works. I was curious, but I didn't want to put my mouth on it. And I would ruin it.
Do I have a right to be curious what you put in this? Because
it's Red Bull. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. Taste it. It's the same thing. How easy is it? That's the only thing I'm curious about.
It's not easy.
Well, that's good because you're a filthy, slobbering mess and you spill stuff everywhere. Let's move on to our next thing, which actually is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Right.
That was a horrible segue. I needed to start this show high, right? Like with some optimism, because honestly, when we're talking about Memorial Day, it's no secret that we're talking about fallen soldiers and people that you know and love that have served, and we're going to get into that and talk about the people that we know that love that have served. But also, we have Mental Health Awareness Month, which, to be honest, I never am one to want to post about it and make a huge show of things. And most of the time, because of my ADHD, I have this idea of like, I should post it. And then 5 days later, I'm like, I should post it. And then 5 days later, I'm like, I should post it. And I just never end up doing it. So that's why at the last Friday of this month, that's why we're even doing anything about it, because I've just postponed it for that long. But before I go any further, what are your, I don't know, this year's been crazy, Chaz. Talk about mental health.
Well, last year was my first time actually taking it more serious than I had before. Just because of the isolation and everything going on in the world, dude. Like 2020 was a huge crap show.
Yeah.
Times 10. And I think about it and I'm like, how did we even survive that? Like it was like one event after another. And a lot of people suffered worse things than like you or I, for that matter. And so I think the fact that people are being more vocal about mental health and how serious it is, and there's nothing wrong with getting help if you need it, even if you feel like you need it, there's nothing wrong with it because we're all in the same boat in that sense. Like we're all experiencing random things. So
mental health, like in the past decade, has taken such a change as far as how doctors, treatment, how everything is seen around it. And like there's more stuff that we've seen obviously with like mushrooms and what are they, psilocybin? Is that what they're called? Yeah. And that they're potentially really effective and could work. Yeah. But like, I don't know, therapy, any podcast has like your BetterHelp stuff that you can go online and do online therapy. And just the act of talking to people, honestly, is the biggest, I think, comfort to me that helps, is like somebody that's able to listen to you, to understand. I know you and I, when we started Gaggle of Geeks, we started this right when the pandemic started. So the fact that we were able to, if this podcast can survive a pandemic, right, and we can get vaccinated in the span that this whole thing is run and make it through that, I mean, that's pretty cool, first of all. But we had a lot of conversations about how tough it was. And how Fridays was kind of like our safe haven for things, because we're able to just not worry about it. Yeah. You don't have to think about it. Even though sometimes you can't avoid it and you have to address it, you can do it together as like a team. And like with Jay and with Nate and Scott, with everybody that's joined in, it's really felt more like a team and a family.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I will say last year was actually my first time, and a little bit earlier this year too, was my first time waking up with panic attacks and full on anxiety. Like it felt like I would wake up like a bomb was about to explode and I couldn't fall back asleep. And so that being the first was really like kind of like maybe this pandemic is taking a toll on me more than I'm giving it credit for.
It's not a bad thing to admit that things are fucking crazy and that you're not doing okay.
Yeah.
Especially if like everybody is putting up posts saying how great their life is, and even me posting things about good things Utah this morning and getting to do the TV stuff. It's always fun to post and it's always fun to be great and like have a great time with it. But nobody's life is what it is on social media. That's
what I realized too, was somebody's portraying their life to be something than what it's really not. Mm-hmm. And we always take it for granted because we see it in the palm of our hands. We're like, oh my God, like they're so perfect. So recognizing all that, I think we can also better ourselves and try to separate ourselves from putting all of ourselves out on social media, because the bottom line is social media has been the cause of a lot of these core issues, especially in the younger generations.
What do you mean by put yourself out?
I mean, full on thinking everything that you see on there like taking it at face value, right?
Okay, so meaning in like expressing your own thoughts or just like commentating on stuff, how people treat social media.
Pretty much. So I mean, even expressing your own thoughts. I mean, granted, we all have opinions, right? But I think social media has given us the idea that our opinions matter, when in fact nobody cares at all what your opinion is on them.
Well, you could check my Twitter, and that will be confirmed by the ghost town that is the thread.
Right. And the fact, like, I've actually gone and this is just me, but like on Facebook Memories, I've gone back and deleted majority of my posts on Facebook Memories, right? From that day of like years ago or whatever, because I realized my intent of posting certain statuses was only to get a reaction out of people. It's not true to myself. And so being able to recognize that, I think, will ease a lot of the anxiety that we feel with social media, because that's a monster giant, dude. I mean, it's like huge.
It is
how
a
much it
huge
influences
part of everybody's mental health, for sure. And it doesn't get addressed. And honestly, since we're a movie podcast, we're an entertainment. The Social Dilemma, go and watch that movie. Yeah. It's got a little bit of a cheesy story in between that honestly I kind of could skip it. But all the information, whenever they dive into the stuff and you find out exactly how they're targeting your little social bubble of what you're in and what you're doing, it's crazy. It is
the algorithm, dude. That's what made me debate deleting Facebook when I watched it. But then in our line of work, we need it.
No, you can't. But it's not just social media. You know, it's definitely influences your friends, your family, your close ones, people outside, your work, your like any influence, especially with 2020, can be a trigger to cause some anxiety and depression. And I was thinking, what is the best way for us? Like, we could talk about it, but what's kind of an interesting way to kind of show what anxiety and depression kind of is like for us, you know? So here's what I did. I've brought a couple show and tell.
What you got there, buddy?
Okay, so here's.
Is that for me, that blanket?
One. This cut to me. This is my blanket, right?
Okay.
I have this on probably about 7.5 hours a day.
Okay.
Just around, you know, it's comforting. I don't know why. And it's been like this for maybe about a little bit before the pandemic started, like around October or so. And these thingies, like, that's what I call them, thingies. Like, you could just like twist your finger around, you can feel them, and it just gives you comfort. It's something that I've always had. And it's always been something I felt very like self-conscious about. I've often felt like, who is the kid in Peanuts? Linus?
Right, yeah.
Like Linus with the fucking blanket, you know, walking around. And I've gone through many of these. Like, look at the thingies here. I'm going to show what the blanket before looks like. So these are the thingies on that. Just completely demolished, right? Like, this is anxiety.
Yeah.
This is what it's like when things are tough and you need coping mechanisms. Like, licking my knee, Frank, is definitely a big one, but there's so many others. So if you are self-conscious, if you don't feel like you can go and talk to somebody, or if you feel like there's nobody to talk to, just know that you can, and that nobody's alone in this kind of stuff. 2020 proved that everybody can be put in similar situations, and it's really up to you to decide how to react to that. And if you really want to put betterment in your life, it's up to you to make that step. And yeah, that is the end of mental health awareness.
Yeah.
Check. There's a segment name for it. I just felt it was important to do.
Yeah.
We both go through this, you know, everybody does. Let's see. Alan. Oh, snap. Alan got the sippy cups.
I have a 9-month-old. I have all the deets.
So do I.
Sippy cups. You know, dude, little did you know, I'm no longer a child.
What? Dun,
Take that off.
Speaking of, you're not a child, but you are somebody that's got a lot of information.
The News Say with Chaz.
It's the news with Chaz.
How'd you do that voice?
Oh, I just found some like auto text, like voice person.
That's fun, dude. Well,
yeah.
In today's news, Dun, dun, dun. This week, Eternals trailer was released. Patrick,
Yes.
did you watch it?
I did.
And what were your thoughts on it?
It's definitely not enough to attack random Twitter bots about. It's Twitter bots, the people that are freaking out about it. I thought it was beautiful. Like the cinematography in that looks different from any Marvel film I've ever seen. Chloe Zhao is like, for some reason, Nomadland is now getting a lot of hate at the same time that the Eternals movie are coming out.
What?
I know. There's some weird alleys in Twitter that it's just like, why is this a thing? Why are we doing this? And most of them, honestly, are eggs meant to just upset other people too. So it's a never-ending cycle.
Oh boy.
But yeah, a lot of people like this, but I've seen more than anything, a lot of posts afterward of just like, here's what this person's skill set is. Here's what this person powers is. And nobody knows anything about these characters. Still don't. And the big thing, the number one meme that every posts is, where the were you during Thanos? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because their big thing is like, we were never around until now. And it's like, that sucks if that's what you were doing.
See, I know nothing about them.
There's breaking news today, by the way, we'll get to about Spider-Man. Like literally an hour ago.
Oh, okay. We'll get to it. But with the Eternals, I thought it was beautifully shot. Then it, the trailer followed the basic Marvel formula of doing these new movies. So it felt similar in that sense, but I'm excited to see what they do with it, because it's a lot of casts that you wouldn't necessarily think would ever be put in a superhero film.
Who's your most interesting character in it so far?
Is it Kamal?
Kamal?
Yeah.
Dude, that shot where he's doing a Bollywood dance, I was in it. Did you watch Silicon Valley?
The first 2 seasons.
Okay, well, he's excellent in that.
Right.
And The Big Sick, he's incredible. He got super jacked for this, which is what made me want to start doing lifting stuff. Because like, he could do it, I could do it.
So there is another trailer that was released though last night in Soho.
So good.
Yes,
So
Edgar
good.
Wright's new film that has Anya Taylor-Joy and I forget the other actress's name, but
I'm feeling it.
yeah, dude. What were your thoughts on that neon-infused horror thriller-esque?
That new. Ooh,
Movie.
that's some good.
Is so good. That looked so cool. I love the trippiness. I loved Edgar Wright. I love everything about this. Anya Taylor-Joy is on fire. So of course, when you see her, it's like, yeah, give me more of that.
Have you seen Suspiria, the original?
Mm-mm.
Recommend watching it because it looks like this movie has a lot of influence from that, of it being kind of psychedelic and like so abstract and weird,
Mhm.
So I'm for it, man. I'm excited for that. It was kind of nice to see that. Yeah. And then I was talking to you about this before. John Cena had some controversy here.
Oh my goodness.
Do you want to sum this up?
Well, we didn't have time to make this video, unfortunately. I wanted to make it, but we were going to do something with John Cena and the subtitles mix up. But essentially, John Cena, why are you giving this to me? You want me to never be able to go to China?
John Cena.
Is that what you were doing? We have to say it on 3. That way we're both banned from China.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Taiwan is a country.
Yep.
Oh, we did it. Oh, but you didn't do it.
No.
Okay, so you get to go to Disneyland China. Congrats, man. You're good.
Yes, he made comments saying Taiwan was a country and it upset a lot of people. Here's the thing, dude.
No, that it's not a country.
No, he
And
said it was.
apologize to China for saying that it was a country.
Wait, what?
Yes, the problem is China doesn't want to consider it a country. It wants to consider it part of China. Taiwan is its own separate country with its own thing. And so anytime somebody says that, oh, this is part of China, it's just, you're making me dig a bigger hole. Are you playing dumb?
No. It's because I was on.
I'm
I was
going to go to the Great Wall.
No. I was in the understanding that I thought China considered it a country and America did not. And so when he said it was a country and then China got upset and he's like, oh, sorry,
Opposite, you gotta
it's
flip
part
that.
of China. Okay. So
Taiwan is a democracy.
Oh,
and,
yes,
and
right.
we're trying to keep the democracy, but John Cena is apologizing to China saying, I'm sorry for saying it was a democracy. It's not, it's yours.
That makes more sense because a lot of the backlash.
They call him a bootlicker.
Right.
That's the term.
A lot of the backlash from that is because all the money for the Fast and the Furious franchise
is in China.
Yes. A lot of
because
it stems
it's released
from China.
right now. It's open. Everybody can watch it in China.
So that's the controversy. Thank you for clearing that up. I was on the complete opposite end then.
Yeah. That would have been a little rough, right?
It was. And then Chadwick Boseman.
Yes. This is the cool news.
This is cool. He graduated in 2000. 2000, 2002, in the early 2000s.
From Howard. And there's a really great story with that. Do you know the story?
I don't know the story. Will you do the story real quick?
Yes. Okay. So there was a scholarship fund that he was a beneficiary of. That scholarship was funded by Denzel Washington.
Ooh.
So Denzel Washington paid for Chadwick Boseman to be able to go to college. After he had graduated and he had seen Denzel Washington to some red carpet thing, I think, I'm not sure if it was a red carpet or something, but at one point he met with him and he was like, hey, just so you know, like, you're the reason I was able to do any of this stuff. And Denzel looked at him and was like, oh, so you owe me money. Like,
dude, well, he finished school there, then did his movie stuff, and he came back in 2018 to graduate with another degree.
Yeah.
And because of his passing and the huge impact he had on the school, they're building a new College of Fine Arts building and putting under his name, which is such a cool tribute. Yep. Very well deserved. Because here's the thing too, dude. A lot of the fine arts colleges are underfunded.
Yes.
And their buildings are trash. So the fact they're doing this, I think, is really cool.
Go to your local high school band room.
Yeah.
Tell me how great that looks.
It's not that great.
Ours actually looked fairly good. I didn't mind. We had a lot of practice rooms. It was nice.
That's funny. Then MGM, our favorite studio that makes a lot of older movies.
Is it a studio now or is it an Amazon property?
It's an Amazon property, dude.
My God. Amazon's taking the whole world over.
After Amazon just got saved from a bankruptcy kind of a thing. Did you read about that?
Not really, no.
So they got bailed out $8 billion or some sort of $1 billion.
How?
I don't know.
Why can't Bezos pay that?
I don't know. But then here's the thing. Right after that news broke, this news broke that they're buying MGM and all the properties
for $10 billion, right?
For $8 billion, I think, or $10 million. $10 million, yeah.
$10 million.
Yep. And
it's estimated to be worth $5 million MGM, so they're overpaying by a lot. But that's kind of the game with Bezos and Netflix is like we have all the pockets as deep as they go with all the money. So it's not really the same for like stand-up comedians right now versus like during the beginning. Like Dave Chappelle is getting paid way more than just someone just showing up for the first time for their set. But they are deep pockets, these streaming sites.
Yep.
A lot of debt.
Then, and to clarify, the new James Bond movie will not be on the streaming service. It is still theatrical.
Yes, because everything has already been made with that. It's kind of the same situation with Dune and Warner Brothers when they were doing the HBO Max deal. Like
they're still doing it.
Well, it's different because they're releasing it in theaters first.
Yes, they are.
They're doing it first now because of obligations to contracts that if they were to renege on them and not make them work, would make everything so much worse. And they'd have to pay way more money than they were originally planning.
Well, this actually ties into our last bit of the news that you have on this little thing.
And then I gave it the breaking.
Yes. French Dispatch, which is Wes Anderson's new film. Yes. If you like Wes Anderson, this is great news for you. I personally am not his biggest fan, but I'm excited to see what this does. But it is premiering at Cannes. Cannes. As is Dune.
As is me. No. That's cool. I can?
Yeah.
Nice.
Or is it Venice? It's one of those.
So here's the thing. I signed up for a few festivals. By the way, I'm going to Tribeca.
Woo!
Online
Dude,
Tribeca.
Where's the applause?
And then Cannes, I was also filling out for, but man, everything was in French when I was filling it out. So I was like, and like moved to another tab and started listening to something.
That's exciting though. Dude, I'm glad. I hope by the time Sundance comes around and South by Southwest like next year, I hope it's more in person because as much access as there is to virtual stuff, you missed out on a lot of those in-person experiences.
Oh, for sure. To go to Tribeca in person is a completely different experience. I get to go to New York. That would be incredible.
That'd be dope.
Between the three, like Sundance, South by Southwest, and Tribeca, like, of course, I think I'd be most interested in Tribeca. But Sundance is probably the most fun for me. It's cool.
I like Sundance.
I love going home after going and doing a red carpet. That's the weirdest thing ever.
Dude, and I also love how cold it is up there, especially late at night, And like everybody's huddled up in their coats. And like, this is really cold. And then
too, you see the lights of the skiers.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Well, then like you can tell who the locals are because they're like, it's not that cold. But that wraps up what I had for the news. You said there was breaking news of Spider-Man.
Well, it's a breaking rumor. Okay. Everything with No Way Home is kind of a rumor in a sense. But a lot of reports were confirming that Willem Dafoe is the main villain
as a Green Goblin.
As Green Goblin. Now I gotta put this up because I know someone's gonna get mad. Again, I don't know. Take it with a grain of salt. Who knows?
Is this from We Got This Covered?
Well, no, it's from Reddit, and then it was on Twitter, and then there was like little things. But there's certain people that have ins that just throw out stuff, right? Like little snippets that sometimes end up being correct. And Reddit has done a lot of like super sleuthing when it comes to those after movies come out to go back and look at the people that could confirmed a lot of the stuff and said, oh, so this person actually knows what they're talking about. So this is kind of one of those situations. The rumor is we have Sandman from Spider-Man 3, Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, Electro, and Rhino, and I believe the Lizard, who's the Lizard guy.
Dr. Connor.
So that's all of the different multiverses, right? These are all characters that have died in Spider-Man films, right? And the moment of their death is reportedly when they come into the MCU. So they know that Spider-Man has killed them and they are kind of dead, but they're still alive in this universe. They were moved at that point. There's a rumor that Wanda has something to do with that.
Should explore that more in the show, WandaVision.
That's pretty insane, right? Like, if that's true, that confirms why Doctor Strange is jumping in. It's like, just so you know, Wanda's reading this book, and a lot of people are coming out. She's looking for her twins. That's probably what it is. That's interesting, right?
I'll wait for the official news.
Ooh, I don't think it's official. I don't think it is, but it's interesting.
It is interesting.
Somebody was very smart if they were able to like kind of craft that up.
Yeah, but here's a
lot of people are smart.
No, right.
Joseph Smith was very smart. Sorry, didn't mean to do that.
Just for the sake of calling this big, if it is true, I'm going to say this right now. Having that many villains is going to be such a clusterfuck. And we've seen what happens with like the first. We have
never seen a Sinister
The first Avengers
couldn't even.
No. The first Avengers Endgame movie, what do you call it? Infinity Wars, couldn't balance out all. Oh, dude, they couldn't balance out all the superheroes. I felt nothing for them. I hope these villains.
Infinity War is what The Dark Knight was back in 2008. It is a change of game. It really was.
No.
Thanos' character arc had never been done before. They'd never done a superhero movie like this.
Nah, dude.
They'd never.
It was
Tell me a movie where they'd done this.
It was like so unbalanced with all the superheroes. I'm like, this is such a clusterfuck.
Because then Endgame makes it what?
More of a clusterfuck.
Perfectly balanced.
No.
As all things must be.
No.
Yeah.
We live in a society.
I love how you use DC in a Marvel.
I know. I think it's fun to cross streams, you know? People need to be happy with each other.
Yeah, dude. But
it's all fun. Don't be angry at each other, fandoms. We all love what we love.
I'm curious how they pull it off. I'll just say that. How's that?
Yeah. Well, there's also one more thing. Aaron Taylor Johnson was confirmed as Kraven the Hunter in a standalone Spider-Man. Well, not Spider-Man. Standalone Sony Spider-Verse film. So what do you think of these Spider-Verse films? I've got one take, and it's really that's all I care about. I don't care. Not until Spider-Man shows up. Bring Spider-Man in legitimately, give him a story with Spider-Man, and then we'll go. But I don't care about this origin story. He doesn't. I don't see Kraven with him either.
Is Morbius? Is that what it's called?
Jared Leto. He's part of the Spider-Verse as well.
Is that the Spider?
Michael Keaton shows up at the end of the trailer as Vulture.
It's a clusterfuck.
That part is how they're doing that is interesting because they've got Sinister Six bringing in all these old report possibly. And then maybe this new Sinister Six. I don't know.
So let me ask you a question then. With all this content coming out, is this an oversaturation that's causing the clusterfuckness of it? And maybe we need to slow down just a bit?
I think it's similar to what the issue was with Amazing Spider-Man 2, where we were like, you're going too much too fast.
Right.
But at the same time, a lot of properties are proving that you can do that. Marvel's proving you can go fast and it still is okay. The way that they're shelling out properties this year, so many Marvel stuff is coming out this year.
I'm lost in the timeline because Black Widow's supposed to come out how many fucking times?
Loki comes next. Loki comes next. Next is Black Widow. And then after that, I believe it's What If. And then after that, it's
what's What If?
Eternals. And then it's Spider-Man.
What's What If?
It's like their cartoon series, the Marvel's What If series.
Not watching.
And I believe Hawkeye might be at the end too. Hawkeye might be towards the end.
Doesn't Hawkeye have a movie coming out too?
No.
Are you sure?
It's already been wrapped. It's a series.
Oh.
It might be just limited.
Okay, no. So the series though, where would that?
It's the one with who's the girl?
Haley Stanfield.
Yeah, she's playing.
Yeah,
Kate
right. Okay. Well, that wraps up all the news stuff.
That wraps up the news, everybody. Well, let us know if we missed anything, and let's move into. I don't know. Did you have anything that you were geeking about?
It's Gaggle of Geeks. What are you geeking about?
Dude, yes, actually.
Ooh, I'd like to know.
I finished a book called House of Leaves.
Okay.
It's very good, also kind of challenging because there's a lot of footnotes and like it's all over the place. And you're like, how do I read this, right? And there's Reddit threads of people being like, that's part of the joy is figuring out how to read it yourself because each experience is different.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was talking to Natalie about this before the show, but basically it's kind of marketed as a horror novel,
mm-hmm.
but the author has been on record saying it's actually a love story. And if you read it in that perspective, it totally changes everything. So it's challenging. And I bought it maybe 7-8 years ago. I haven't finished it because I always get caught up and it's just really intense.
Yeah.
But it's good. I'd recommend it. That's what I've been geeking about, dude.
I've been geeking about Pawn Stars.
Okay, which season?
Just all of them. I've been needing something to just have on.
Right.
You know what I mean? Every once in a while you go for a spell where it's either podcasts that you're listening to nonstop or it's a very long show. Often it's The Office for me or Parks and Rec. But since those have moved into different stuff and I don't know what they're doing, I moved over to Pawn Stars and I got to tell you, they have so much fluff in those episodes. I found a video of somebody that was able to edit out all of the fluff and see exactly what it was like. It was like 7 minutes and it was a half-hour show. And so 7 minutes out of there. I love it though. Either way.
Right.
Do you like Pawn Stars? Do you watch it?
I can handle it. I like that when they actually show what they're pawning and like all the history behind it. I hate all the fluff and the weird acting that they do. And like they're not even characters because they're real people, but like the little beef they have with each other or challenges. I'm like, this is so not interesting for me. I like the actual artifacts that they're bringing in.
How many of the offers on the items that don't go through where they say no are fake? And they just brought in something to showcase to set up for a buy with a different buyer. And maybe they paid like the show to let them showcase it.
Yeah. I mean, that's a valid question.
I think that's very interesting. Like the ones that never sell, here's what usually happens in them. It's very weird. They come in, they say, I have this original Adam West Batman phone from the original whatever time. And it still works. Everything's great. Here's the certificate of authenticity. Rick goes, how much you want for it? And they go, $2 million. Like they give you this crazy number. And like my favorite is Rick. Anytime they give the number, he goes, okay. Like he does this very quickly. Okay, no. And so he's like, you mind if I call someone? And then they come in and take a look at it. And they're still like, the offer is still $2 million. And then finally it's revealed that it is worth that much. Rick's like, I won't come down from there. And then it never comes through. But it's always a ridiculously over the price offer that there's no way it was going to work from the beginning. Then you got the random person that's like, I found this in my attic.
Dude, so I love the ones where they think it's like real and it looks real, like a lot of like craftsmanship with swords. But then the guy's like, this is actually a replica. And they're like, what? And they still want that expensive that amount of money. I'm like, dude. Yeah, I thought it was interesting. But speaking of History Channel, I did watch the Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch.
Interesting. Hold on. Alan, our geek god, by the way. Did you know that?
No.
He's moved from Sexy Geek in our Patreon to Geek God.
Oh, God.
He moved to Geek God, man. Which means that eventually he's going to come on the show.
Alan.
And he's going to present a viewer question. So he's been geeking out about Adventure Zone. It's his first campaign. What do you know about? Do you know about Adventure Zone? I don't know anything about it.
Nothing about it.
Ah, shit. Well, that might be for button mashing. Sorry, Alan.
Is it like an RPG board game? I don't know.
I'm very happy that you're geeking out about it. I'm sorry. All right. Well, let us know. Email us at gaggleofgeekshow@gmail.com what you all are geeking about, and we will be sure to put it up here and discuss it. And that is that. Let's move over to our main topic today, which is Memorial Day. Memorial Day weekend, man. There's a feeling. There's a vibe. I just want to rip my shirt off and jump in a pool.
I'm glad you feel that way because I don't get that excited.
Well, yeah. Or a green screen pool, maybe. Have you ever? What would you jump into of a pool-sized proportion? You understand? Like Jello or shrimp or like what would you jump into that's pool-sized?
Well,
Hawaiian Punch.
No.
Mine? Do you want to know mine? Panda Express orange chicken.
Dude.
I've had a dream as a kid. Can I tell you my dream as a kid?
Please.
Did you ever watch the old show with Scrooge McDuck?
No.
Oh, you're so young.
So, dude, I'm 3 years younger than you.
Well, then why don't you know it? Anyway, in this, he has this vault. When he opens it up, there's a diving board and a huge, like...
Oh, is this the ducktail people?
Yeah.
See, I know
and
who
it's just
that
tons
is.
of gold, right?
Right, I know who that is.
I always wanted that, but I never wanted the gold. I wanted the food. So I would want pizza in it. With no disregard for me snapping my neck and dying immediately. But I want to dive into pizza like a cartoon. And I want to... with all the pizza. And with orange chicken, I want to do that. So what is yours with that?
Dude, you know those twisty swirl ice creams, like the vanilla and chocolate?
Yeah, I do.
I would slurp all that up from the pool.
You know, there's a specific one at... have you heard of Little America?
Yeah.
There's a Little America in between Rollins, Wyoming, and here, basically, that you'd always stop off at and just get an ice cream cone from it. Have you been to that?
No.
Dude, it's so good. I'd get those every day.
Or, you know, this is probably Utah specific, but Pace's Darien. Have you been there?
I don't know if I have. No.
It's a burger joint, but they have these slushy stuff that's really good too, and you get different flavorings. But they have like slushy, but it has like ice cream in it too. It's really good.
Well, with Memorial Day, I wanted to talk about anybody in our family that has served, and also, of course, give a shout out and our love to all the families of people that have served, that have passed away, fighting for this country.
Right.
And knowing about, like, we just constantly hear more and more about these stories about heroes and what they were able to do. And knowing that we all have them in our own personal lives, I think is really important to showcase. So I asked you for you to think about at least the people in your life. And although we couldn't get pictures for you for yours, I do have a quick one for me for mine. And this is my grandpa. So my grandpa served in World War II, and honestly, he didn't talk too much about it. And I'm sure that's going to be the case with a lot of families. It was just such a crazy experience. I couldn't imagine wanting to go in and talk about a ton of stuff. But we always knew that he served. And when he had passed away just a few years ago, we had gone to his house in Rollins, and we had kind of looked through memories, looked through his old military patches and seen the awards that he had never told us about that he'd won. And we were just like, this is crazy. And we got to see the jacket, his military jacket, and I put it on, and it fit. And it just such a weird feeling. Like you saw on the first card, he was 145 pounds when he started. I think I was 145 pounds when I was in 11th grade.
Right.
It's insane to think that back in those days, that was like the requirement that you needed to get there. And I think it still kind of is for like age and height range and requirements with that. But to think about that, I don't know. Tell me about your family member or members.
Well, the one that first comes to mind I most know of is my grandpa. Fought World War II as well. And I don't know. He never talked about it either.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything I heard, like when he did talk about it, has come through my parents. But even then, they were like, "Oh yeah, he never talked about it." But I do remember specifically having a souvenir. It was like a round bullet. I mean, it was like huge, dude, like a donut hole almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
But apparently that was from his plane. Like he got shot through there or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had his Purple Heart too.
Dang.
Yeah. But he didn't talk about it. I do have one story though, because we'll get into it with the movies, but he went to go see Saving Private Ryan. Mm-hmm. And like a lot of vets, he walked out in the first 15 minutes because of how brutal it was. But he told my dad, the one thing that will never capture is the smell of blood and bodies. No, I'm being serious. What the
fuck? He's a really cool guy. That's crazy.
I know, but it's also sad because
it's also sad. But
like,
how old were you? Well, wait, you heard this. How old were you when you heard this?
Probably 8. But no, because Saving Private Ryan came out in 98, right? I was 4 then, so like I don't remember any of that. So it was after his funeral because he passed away in 2003.
Yeah.
And by the way, funerals for vets are kind of like cool to witness when you're that young of an age because they did the whole gunfire.
I played the trumpet at my grandpa's.
See, yeah, and the American flag, and like it was interesting. The fact I remember some of that too, like it's cool how much that embeds. And like I kind of regret not knowing more about that. But granted, I was like really young. But it would be nice to actually hear some of the stories if he had ever opened up about it. But
I think a big part of it is probably just them wanting to
forget about it.
I would say protect their family more than anything.
Probably.
Like forget about it too. But there's also a probably a significant level of PTSD there that I'm sure back in the day, like, I don't know, coming back from the Civil War, nobody was like, and how do you feel? To the person that was showing up after just
how do you
killing
feel about
their brother.
The South?
I know. And like, I could never, like, I feel when I was watching Saving Private Ryan yesterday, I fucking hated Oppum. And everybody should hate that guy. I hate that guy. But here's why I hate that guy. Because deep down, I'm that guy.
Exactly. I was going to ask, like, it made me question, like, if I was in that situation, would I be scared shitless like he was, and like just because you can't control how scared you are. I mean, that's just what it is, right? And he even says early in the film that he didn't, like, he had basic training, but he hasn't held a weapon since basic training. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that just says a lot, and it really and he wanted to see the best of everybody, regardless of what side you were on. So he was
a piece of shit and I hated him, but it was also very interesting to think about, like, putting yourself in your shoes. Who are you in this situation? And I don't think the answer that you can give will ever be accurate because you'll never know.
Exactly.
But I guess it says a lot for yourself. If you're like, I'm Oppum, but I do think there's a little bit of like frozen inability to act that is very human in those situations that makes that character super interesting. And also somebody that you, in a sense, understand, even though you hate all of his actions.
Right.
I hate him.
Well, here's the thing too. It's because Tom Hanks' character mentioned something about it with friendly fire, because that's a thing that does happen probably far too often, right?
Yeah.
But movies don't portray that.
Movies don't, but movies do portray a lot of war films, and we should start talking a little bit about some of these war movies. So we could go by how. There's so many. Like, you could talk about The Patriot. We could talk about Black Hawk Down.
Let me ask you a question. This thought came to me in a shower.
Oh,
I know. When we talk about war films, are we talking about with guns? Or are we talking about like medieval wars? Because
anything.
they're
I
all
think
wars,
anything
right?
involving like
Battles?
combat with armies.
Okay.
You could be 300.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't start there, but if somebody is like, I love Zack Snyder, let's start with 300, and then we'll let that person be over there, sit in the corner, and they can yell that without a microphone.
Right.
Yep. But Saving Private Ryan was what I watched yesterday for the first time all the way through. Wow, it's incredible. Like, you can't not say it's incredible. I watched half of Platoon, and I ended up falling asleep during that.
You know, I haven't
Very
seen
different
Platoon.
between the two. Very different.
One of my friends on Letterboxd was very critical of Saving Private Ryan and said Platoon did a better job at conveying a lot of the themes.
Interesting. Like, what themes? Do they get into any detail?
Just less hoorah.
So which would you like between Platoon or Apocalypse Now?
I haven't seen Platoon. I haven't seen Apocalypse Now.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Okay, so Apocalypse Now. Apocalypse Now is interesting because it's also the behind-the-scenes stuff that's very interesting, too. Like, when
there's different cuts, right?
Well, not only that, just what all of the actors had to do and what was happening to them. And, like, Martin Sheen almost died and all kinds of stuff. Like, filming. Didn't they actually film in Vietnam? I believe they actually went to Vietnam and filmed.
I have no idea.
But yeah, seeing all that stuff, that movie is incredible. There's a lot of Vietnam films. Full Metal Jacket. Have you seen Full Metal Jacket?
I have. That one's dark.
That one's very, very dark, and it really covers everything.
It does.
Stanley Kubrick is one of those directors, man. Like, his stuff lasts forever, like, just timeless.
Yeah, well, I mean, the fact he did like horror movies, sci-fi, war, he was a director of all trades, really.
Mhm.
But well, a movie that comes to mind that's
Give me some favorites.
one of my favorites is actually Black Hawk Down, which is a Ridley
I've
Scott.
not seen it, so you're gonna have to give me plot and tell me more.
It's a Ridley Scott movie, but it's these soldiers who have to stop like an uprising in Somalia, which is based on a true story in the 90s. That
Do you want
happened.
me to give you more?
No, you're okay.
I can give you more.
No, okay.
Do you want some more?
But Patrick.
Go on.
Anyways, it's one of those movies I saw on TV, so it was like TV edited, you know. And the I don't know. I watched a lot of war movies when I was younger too, and I'm not the biggest fan of war movies because a lot of them do come off as like hoorah, you know. So
I didn't backwash or anything. You're good.
the real question is, do you have COVID?
I sacrificed the whole can too. I just want you to know.
Thanks.
There's love. There's love in that cup.
Another one though is medieval stuff. I love sword battles,
Mm.
hand-to-hand combat, stuff like that. Kingdom of Heaven, which is another
Ooh,
Ridley
I've
Scott
not
movie.
seen Kingdom of Heaven, and I've heard only watch the director's cut. Is that correct?
Yes.
Why? How different is it?
It goes.
Why is Ridley Scott always getting his movies messed with?
Why is Zack Snyder? Ask that question.
Well, why is one more deserving of having their movies messed with and one is not?
Because one's made better movies than the other.
That's an answerable question. But anyway, why,
no.
you didn't really answer my first question. Why do you think Ridley Scott is getting blindsided? He's one of the best directors in the world, and he has nothing like as far as what Zack Snyder's like. I don't know, hesitancy.
Well, here's the thing. So, Kingdom of Heaven there's a lot of controversy surrounding it because
With Orlando Bloom, correct?
it has him, but it's not
Okay.
because of him. Because it's about the Holy War, right? You have the Muslims versus Christians versus Jews, right? I know.
Jeez,
Whoa.
we got listeners on the podcast, man.
Whoa.
Sorry for the bass rumble, my friends.
My elbow hit it. But the controversy is that Orlando Bloom's character starts questioning his own faith.
Mm.
And it really did not sit well with people.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, that's the most Ridley Scott thing you can do because the dude's a full-on atheist.
Yeah.
And so it's cool. And the movie, the production quality of the theatrical, it's not bad. Like, I like the theatrical cut, but he adds more scenes into it that adds more context to these characters. And it just makes the third act pay off better. It's like 30 minutes longer.
Yeah. Well, are you interested in seeing a Denis Villeneuve war film?
I would be, yeah.
Who could you plug a director in for a war film that you haven't seen yet that you're interested in?
Oh, man. That's a tough one.
While you're thinking of that, I'm going to list off a few and talk
Okay.
more about them. There's also the superhero genre. You can't count them out because they bring themselves into history, right? World War II is a huge part of the Avengers. It's probably one of the biggest parts of the Avengers, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy how big it is. Nazis show up in Endgame still. When you think about it.
It's because Nazis are still relevant today, apparently.
And them Nazis. But Wonder Woman also going into World War I, something that 1917 also did with Sam Mendes, which honestly, Roger Deakins' cinematography in that was incredible. Having it be comprised to look to be all in one take, and the cinematography in that, like, wow, is so good. Dunkirk also, we can talk about Christopher Nolan's sound design with Dunkirk and how they were able to make the planes just feel crazy when you're watching it on IMAX.
Dude, Dunkirk was like a mind fuck too, because of the editing, because there's 3 different stories happening at 3 different times, and the way it played out.
He's always got to go nonlinear.
I know how. Okay, so let's talk about Dunkirk just real quick. When you first heard it or heard about the project, and before the trailer was even released, what was your first thought? Like, how would Christopher Nolan put a Nolan twist to it?
No, I never look how, because I always assume the trailer's going to show me where the twist is coming. Like Tenet shows you the twist. Like, okay, it's some kind of reversey thing.
Yeah.
Dunkirk, I don't think really. Oh, no, they didn't really. And so I was, to me, the only thing I thought when I first saw the trailer was, this is Nolan trying to get an Oscar. Like, this is his Oscar attempt, and this is his war film. Like, he's wanting to tackle each genre, like what a lot of directors can do, but often don't get a budget to do. He's getting a huge budget, so let's cover Dunkirk, which the story is pretty incredible, wouldn't you say?
It is, yeah. My thought was it was going to be like with the Bermuda Triangle.
Interesting.
Because I'm like, well, there's so much fun theories with the triangle, right?
Mhm.
How would he put a Nolan twist to it? Oh, because I didn't know anything about Dunkirk either. I didn't know it was a real battle. So,
well, going back to Chadwick Boseman, speaking of him, Da 5 Bloods is incredible. Have you seen that, Spike Lee?
Yeah.
Yep. Can we talk about the Oscar snub for there?
I mean, if you want.
For lead actor and supporting actor, like, man, that was a show. We don't need to talk about that ever again.
No.
I hope they do better next year.
The Oscars?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's that's off topic. What else?
What do you mean? Yeah, there's all kinds. Okay. Well, I mean, you essentially could put in, why am I blanking on the name? Schindler's List.
And you know what? That's another movie I haven't seen.
You haven't seen Schindler's List?
I know,
wow,
dude. I know.
Do you have your film critic card? Can I take that from you?
You want my degree?
Oh, I'm gonna need your. I need your degree. Actually,
just so you know, I haven't done anything.
About that. I was going easy on you, but I'm gonna need the degree.
I have 2. You're good. So going back to your question, though, David Fincher would be a fun director to see do a war movie.
Interesting.
The attention to detail,
so difficult.
Yeah, dude.
That's probably why he hasn't done it, because it's like, I'm not gonna work with 60,000 people.
Dude, imagine him doing 80 takes of like in 1917 with the
explosion scene.
Well, the 1917, the one take of the explosions running across the field.
I don't
imagine
like how that explosion looked. We can't control it. It's just fire, David Fincher. Shut up. Do it again.
That'd be fun. I don't know. That would be an interesting one.
Tarantino did a war film with Inglourious Bastards,
which is really good, by the way. Brad Pitt.
We talk about fantasy fiction inside of war films, like changing history. What do you think of those type of movies where they're not necessarily going for accuracy, they're going for story and intention? There's that's a good example, but then there's Pearl Harbor, that's an example.
I don't hate Pearl Harbor though. I'm sorry, it's one of those movies that I watched when I was younger. But the 2 VHS tapes,
all they had was that.
I know, but dude, it has Ben Affleck and Matt Damon and
your ultra right wing Republican history teacher put that out on repeat.
No, it's actually my grandpa's a huge war fan, right? And like even Saving Private Ryan, one Memorial Day actually tying that back into it. He put that on during a barbecue. He's like, "Watch this. This is good history." Like,
no, see, that's
8
the
years
problem.
old, dude. I was 8 years old, and then
and so he formed your mind with something that was inaccurate. That is not.
I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that. I was being critical of Saving Private Ryan before the show started.
But so many people don't know that, and we're like, "That's good." Moving on until I'm 50 years old.
I think that's the issue with war movies now. is because of how glorified and patriotic they make it seem.
Like
And they
Hacksaw Ridge.
oh, dude, that was brutal.
So I enjoyed Hacksaw Ridge quite a bit. I think Andrew
did too.
Garfield's incredible. And yes, Mel Gibson sucks. Let's all be real.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson kind of sucks. I think he's done great things for Robert Downey Jr. There's no doubt that he helped him with his rehabilitation and stuff, but he's a piece of shit. And yeah,
But
it was a good movie.
well, Hacksaw
But-
Ridge and American Sniper are two movies that I did not see in the theater, and I had no intention to because of how controversial the film directors are. I'm like, okay, well, what kind of message are you going to be putting in here?
Mhm.
Because the wrong person hears the wrong message, all hell's going to break. And we saw that in 2020, especially, right?
Sure.
I mean, so Hacksaw Ridge, though, dude, I'm surprised how well he handled that.
Yeah.
It was
Andrew
overly
Garfield's
bloody,
incredible.
but damn.
Has Scorsese tackled any war film yet?
Post-war, I mean, Irishman's like veterans.
Yeah. Gangs in New York is
Mobsters,
kind
yeah,
of in a
yeah.
weird thing. Anything that's like gangs is a kind of like mini war, right? Like turf war stuff and
Right.
like town. Yeah, but I don't know if that still really counts. I don't know. I feel like there's got to be one that we're missing that he's done. He can't have. I don't know. Maybe that should be one that he can cover. I'm surprised that of all the movies, he's done a lot. He's done a lot of horror. He's done a lot of, personal stuff, a lot of Wolf of Wall Street stuff.
Yeah.
No war movie.
James Mangold would be an interesting one.
Oh, we could talk about David Ayer's only good movie, Fury.
I haven't seen that either.
So Fury is actually a fairly good movie. It's the one time he really nails an ensemble cast. Like Brad Pitt, Shia LaBeouf. It all works fairly well.
Who's an actor that you want to see in a war movie?
Who's an actor? Dane DeHaan. I
That'd
think
be
he
good.
could work well. I really liked. You didn't see 1917? Did you?
No, I did. I was critical of
Okay.
it. I got shit for being critical of it because the one take was such a gimmick that took away
Okay.
a lot.
I don't like this gimmick
No.
word for it. It's a film style. It's a film technique.
Right? No, it is. It's a film style and technique, but to do a whole movie that way,
It
like a
also
war
has a
movie,
tone.
it held it back in a lot of ways too.
I don't think it did.
I know, and that's what people say. That's the pushback. Well, I don't think it did. It fucking did.
Well, what? I don't know. I think when you restrict yourself with filmmaking like that, that's when you're able to have technically astounding things happen.
Right.
Maybe not in a narrative sense, but they were wanting to showcase both sides of it, and that's why it's stronger with them going this way rather than focusing on story. Because then you're not going to get a very, very like unique style of filmmaking.
Right. I understand that, but
It's like the Michael Bay effect. Most people are like, I go to Michael Bay films because I love the story. Wrong. We go because we love to see all the boom, boom, bang, bangs and the weird mechanics and Anthony Hopkins talking to Megatron and whatever they're doing, right?
Yeah.
If you go to Fast and Furious for one specific reason, the character arc. No, you got to watch the vroom vrooms,
apparently,
except for John Cena.
dude. Another one.
He was one of our sound effects. I'm going to have to get rid of him. Now it's
How do you get a job here, there, face?
Another one I want to mention real quick is Lord of the Rings franchise. The war battles in that.
Oh yeah, that totally works. You can talk Game of Thrones too.
Game of
Battle
Thrones.
of the Bastards war scene.
Yep.
Ooh, but again, not real.
Then there's a documentary Peter Jackson did as well.
Of World War II. Mm-hmm.
No, World War One.
It was a World War One. Oh, my bad.
They will
They
grow
colorized
old,
it,
or they
right?
shall grow old. Yeah, they colorized it. They added frames, so it was the 24 frames because back then it was the hand crank.
Yeah.
right. And they also added dialogue, and they actually had to read their lips and get a gist of like what they might be
Crazy.
saying. It's crazy, dude, and it's a really good movie. But it's interesting is that there hasn't really been a movie that has the reality of no man's land.
Mhm.
It's always this myth of like even our imagination can't fathom how gruesome and brutal no man's land is. Do you know what
Mhm.
no man's land is?
Of course, that was from 1917, from Wonder Woman 2. It's getting prominently featured in a lot of
Right, but
pieces
not
now.
in a Saving Private Ryan way. Like not
not necessarily.
It's so, and there's no footage of that either, which I thought was really interesting, and because I kind of made that connection in the
Mhm.
because anybody who walked in there died, right?
Yeah.
Which is tragic. But yeah, war
to
movies.
not having anything with that. What else? we've got The Patriot, Mel Gibson again. That was, I
seen it.
believe, Civil War. I can't. We can talk about Hamilton, honestly.
Hamilton, yep.
Hamilton is incredible.
Yeah. Glory with Matthew Broderick.
Glory. There's a ton of offshoot films that aren't like super impactful that I don't know, a lot of people like.
Legends of the Falls has war in it.
Do you know what war films I can't necessarily get into too much? It's the new era, the technological warfare that's happening now.
Like, you mean Call of Duty?
The new films do just nothing's like big battle war anymore in 21st century war films, right? It's always like SEAL team going in, small group, like The Lone Survivor with Mark Wahlberg. That's a great example.
Hey, spoiler alert.
Zero Dark 30.
Right.
Jarhead.
Right. Yeah, that goes back to my point of like they become very hoorah.
Mhm.
And if the wrong person hears that message, it's not going to be pleasant.
It's a weird balance to strike with a war film because you do want to be hoorah, you do want to be patriotic, and you want to make sure that you're showing that like no war film is trying to.
Well, I don't
know. I guess this isn't fair to say. It's fair to say. Never mind.
Well, I think being patriotic isn't. There's nothing wrong being patriotic. I think it's taking patriotic to the extreme extent that we do, especially that we saw in 2020 and 2021. Right? It's so taken out of context now that if a film isn't deemed patriotic to certain people, they revolt against it, even though the movie is doing just fine handling the content. Like Saving Private Ryan. I mean. That movie, I mean, there's patriotism in it, right? I mean, the closing shot is of the American flag and then it fades, right? I mean, how much more like hoorah, right?
I think you're being overly critical. Those movies are like that because that's what those movies are.
Right, but the movies now, like what you're talking about, like Lone Survivor and all that, it's more extreme than just telling the story of heroes. I mean, it's literally, I mean, they are heroes.
I'm more desensitized to it. I don't know why.
That might be
there's something more to seeing the gruesomeness of what low tech and just like explosive types of weaponry looks like, especially when it's like right up close and personal too. Like you can't replicate that versus we're gonna have a shot of a bunch of people in a room watching a monitor of a drone doing a boom.
Right.
Like it's just very different.
It is different.
But the destruction is very similar. You just don't get the same kind of like look at it that you would.
Dude,
I'd be interested to see how they can change that.
I would be too. Going back to hand-to-hand combat, though, that was always my thought was like when you're facing face to face, 5 feet apart, swinging your sword, like not only is that skill, right? I mean, like that's like
depending on the time,
brutal, dude.
If you were in Kingdom Hearts era, it was impossible. Try to swing that with chainmail all over you.
No, right. And then like even the chances of hitting your own person, like swinging your sword, fingers being cut off, like I feel like that'd be more brutal than what we are now, but it's because I think guns have made it less personal and more of a, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Sir, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. To be fair, war films aren't my favorite.
Mine either.
Because they're difficult to watch.
Yeah.
And it is tough to know when you're like, you don't want somebody to be like, I love films about killing. You know what I mean? You don't want that person hanging out with you that's like, all I watch are war films 24/7. That's all I care about.
But there are people out there
who do
that.
And that is to your point, my friend. However, I do have to say, there is something unique about this genre specifically. Okay. And it applies universally to every country that does their own type of war film. There's a level of propaganda that you don't get anywhere else. There's a level of patriotism, whether you're from France, whether you're from Spain, whatever war film you're watching from your country, there's a level of patriotism that you have and either love for your country or like a introspective look at the issues with it,
Right.
Either way, I think they're fascinating. They're absolutely necessary. Like if we didn't, you don't think that war films are necessary?
I don't. I really don't.
If we didn't have war films, how would we learn?
Okay, war films are written in the eyes of the victor.
We need history.
What are we learning? Because a lot of the war films are from an American perspective. The American perspective has been skewed.
But storytelling can be done by showcasing both sides.
But what films do both sides? That's the question. Because so far it's been very America hoorah.
I don't think as of late it's been as hoorah. Like American Sniper, Clint Eastwood is very American hoorah. So that movie will be very American hoorah. But Zero Dark 30 is not very American hoorah.
Context, so
it's very, we're going and we're solving a mission. We're tackling an objective. When other ones just, are more gratuitous in the sense of showcasing a flag right in your face.
Well,
there's patriotism can be either way, as long as it's not someone's underwear that's wandering around in an American flag pantyhose or something.
Well, here's the thing too, though, is a lot of these war films come out when we are struggling with post 9/11, right? How many war films came out in between 2001 to 2015?
It's
a lot.
It's a machine that's always been going.
I know, but now we're kind of past that phase, I think, for now, and that's when we get the superhero stuff because we moved on. Same thing could be tracked with westerns because it was still war films before that, and then it turned to westerns, right? And then it turned into something else. But then every time we are in a conflict as a country, Hollywood likes to propagandize. I don't know, do propaganda.
The government likes to let Hollywood. Likes to pay.
It's a hand-in-hand thing because it's all about the money. But
that's why the genre is so unique to itself and why I want it to stay, because it's a weird channel through our government to us, and it's also a weird channel through us and our ancestors in our history that you just don't get.
But if it's coming from the government, it's still going to be very much in our favor.
You're only thinking it like that. Will let A24 do a war film?
Okay, it's called The Green Knight.
But that's the thing, because it's A24, you're not thinking that, are you? So it's all about the story. It's all about how they're crafting it and how they're able to trick you into being into the story. And even then, the director may just have the motive of, I want to showcase my grandpa and how he fought and how he was brave. And the studio says, okay.
That's great. No, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying I don't think they need to be.
It seem like, I don't know why you've turned like this.
I told you this from the beginning.
You might want to backtrack, brother.
I'm not backtracking. War films are not my favorite.
Be propaganda.
But literally, if the
genre is not my favorite.
But I mean, look at Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan, right?
It's not propaganda,
dude.
It isn't,
dude.
Then you have to say that Jurassic Park is dinosaur propaganda.
But
that's just what the movie's about. That's just what the movie's about.
To say,
it's weird that you're sensitive to it.
I'm just trying to be. I don't know. We'll just. I don't want to. I'll just stop crossing lines.
It's okay. Here's why I think you're sensitive to it. Because we have a lot of people in this country that have truck nuts on their car, that have American flags on stuff that they consider patriotic that aren't. And today, even, we just had a vote that was nonpartisan and that clearly shows that our country has been more divided than ever. There's two definitions of patriotism in this country.
It's skewed as fuck right now.
But here's the thing. If you are going to let that affect your film watching, stupid people, if you're going to let that type of patriotism affect your definition of it and your interpretation of it by the films that you watch, which not all of them are from Mel Gibson or Clint Eastwood. Some are from people that have well intentions and can make a film that is unbiased and does look at both sides. However,
but name a film that has. That's my point.
See, that's the thing. When I did, you said, well, no, that's it. Saving Private Ryan.
It shows both sides?
It showed that family that was in the town.
Huh?
It showed that family that was in the town.
Right, but then they also backtracked by showing the German they let loose rejoin the German team.
But they show humanity on that side too.
Really? Because the guy shot only him.
When he's killing the guy, it's not necessarily he had other options. The German dude up in there? No. I'm not talking about Oppum. That German guy didn't have a choice. He had to kill that dude.
No, I know that, and we saw that. Like we saw that.
So in the act of war, and that's the interesting thing with this. In the act of war, you can't really blame the other side because the other side is fighting.
But the movie did blame the other side.
I disagree with that.
Because
that's your interpretation.
Why would he rejoin the German side then?
That's what they said. He was picked up from the other side. But still.
But That's what I'm saying though. Is like
I don't think that Saving Private Ryan has that example that you said, but there are movies that do. We can leave it at that.
Okay.
Cool. Man, are we plugging Cast Off? Is that what this was?
Yeah, speaking of which, if we're plugging Cast Off.
Cast Off, it's a casting off. What? Okay.
That's
What?
Matinee Heroes.
Oh,
you know what? Hold on, I
okay.
should probably do it.
Go back to
Matinee Heroes.
Craig, if you were watching, we've been shit talking each other all week about this.
Oh, we have. Patrick, after this ends, I told you this.
You're
after
buying
this
me
ends,
my arcade machine.
no, will you explain to people what you're trying to do?
Bring justice to my world.
How's it justice?
You bought 2 PlayStation 5s
I did not.
for yourself, Chaz.
I did not.
2 for yourself.
I did not.
Change.org, people. There's a petition I would love for you to sign. There is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Time arcade machine that's going for $300, which I think is very reasonable.
$300. It's going for $500.
2 PlayStation 5s.
It's going
over
$500.
$1,000.
I didn't buy 2 PS5s.
Selfish.
Dude. Oh my god.
So he's sitting there playing both of his PlayStation 5s, and I'm asking Chaz, please, can you help me? And he goes, no, Patrick, I won't help you because I've spent all my money on these. As he's, messing with both.
I think I said rent, but okay.
Yeah, but anyway, I think it's fair because I don't have a PlayStation 5, and
I told you how to get one.
By you.
No,
Dang.
no.
Sign up for the petition. Anyway, change.org. That's a good one. I think that's pretty much it we have for Memorial Day. So happy Memorial Day weekend, everybody. Love the people that served in your life, that are family. We've got Frank down here that Chaz is trying to goat into coming up, but I don't think Frank will. Oh, he got up a little bit. That was a little one. I want to thank everybody for joining us for Gaggle of Geeks. You can check us out on PatrickBeattyReviews.com. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star. Let us know what you think. Instagram, we are close to getting to 1,000 followers on Instagram, and I think that's pretty incredible.
If you get 1,000 by tomorrow night, maybe TMNT.
Hold on. What?
Yep.
If we get to 1,000 by tonight,
tomorrow night.
So we've got 24 hours to get to 1,000 followers, and we can get the thing. All right. I don't know why I want to end the show faster because of that. Like that doesn't change like the time frame, but I want to be like, let's go. But anyway. Over and under Artists Exposed. You did an episode last week, or do you have a new one this week?
Not this week. No, I'm just laying low.
Get scheduled out for the next. Look, It's kind of a never-ending cycle of getting the podcast done and then scheduling it out, and sometimes there's just a break in between.
Well, it's a thing too because people will message me and then I won't. Like I'll see it and I'll forget to respond back. There's actually somebody on my Twitter who I've been meaning to get back to for the past 2 weeks. So it's more on my end, just So maybe instead of playing my PS5. I should probably message.
Or telling nice ladies that want to go on a date with you, no, you won't go on a date with them for a movie that's not supposed to come out till December, but still insisting that you won't go on a movie with them now because of the movie in December.
October, let's end the show.
It's not over yet. We got one more comment, and it's Nate862 Instagram followers right now. That means we can get fairly close.
You need 142. No, 148. No.
Yep.
100. What is it? I suck at math. 138.
I'm not good at math either. You got to pick the wrong people for that. But anyway, what are we doing next week? What are we talking about next week?
Next week. What comes out next week, dude? Quiet Place 2 comes out.
It's already out.
Oh,
with that being said, everybody, thank you for joining Gaggle of Geeks. Geek out. Right. So, oh God, what?
Better buy some merch.
Oh, we're threatening you.
No, there's no threatening.
Buy merch.
Just buy merch.
You think that you're gonna listen to this episode without buying merch?
Who do you think you are?
Who do you think you are?
Dude, merch. Gaggle Geeks.
That. Do it again. Touch your chest. Buy that merch.
Gaggle Geeks.
This is better at. Oh man.